call James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure to rise on the third reading of the Taxation Transformation First Phase Simplification and Other Measures Bill. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to just pick up on one of the points made by my colleague Megan Woods in her contribution just now, which is just the for a party that is nominally the party of business, it does seem strange to me that this government has had such anemic efforts in terms of tax reform, and that there is a lot more that they could have been doing over the lifetime of this Parliament and over previous parliaments during which they've governed. But I would like to say that the Green Party, of course, will be supporting this bill. The Green Party fought the 2011 and the 2014 general election campaigns on a platform of tax simplification, including some of the measures that are contained, or measures that are similar to those that are contained in this bill, particularly the ones around making it easier for small businesses to simplify their provisional tax arrangements. Having run a small business myself, in a country with a relatively high tax burden, it is very difficult when you're a small business, you've got limited revenues, don't have a lot of wiggle room, to be able to manage your affairs in such a way as to be able to easily handle the provisional tax requirements. And so this does go some way towards making it easier to run small businesses in New Zealand, which of course, you know, as we all know, there are many hundreds of thousands of small businesses in New Zealand. Many more people are employed in small business arrangements than they are in other parts of the economy. So that part of it we're particularly keen on, or I'm particularly keen on, as somebody who comes from that sort of background. The other point that I wanted to mention was that it also allows employers to manage the tax implications of employee share purchase agreements, which I think is tremendous news, because there was a time when, particularly in the 80s and in the early 90s, when businesses were much keener on including their employees in the ownership of the business than they have been over the course of the last 15 to 20 years. And providing the kind of incentive, making it easier for both the businesses and the employees to participate in share ownership schemes, I think will help. We all know that there's plenty of evidence that shows that businesses that have got employee share ownership schemes tend to outperform those that do not, because the employees are not just thinking about their take-home check at the end of the month, but actually what are all of the conditions that make that business profitable, and therefore what will they be able to participate in terms of dividends in that company, and that helps them to think about the overall business. So those businesses do tend to be more effective, more productive than companies that don't have share ownership schemes. So I'm glad that there is a provision here which could lead to the expansion of share ownership schemes in small businesses and in all businesses in New Zealand. Of course, one of the main provisions is that it updates tax law to account for developments in electronic communications, putting them on the same footage of paper communications, which I'm amused by, of course, because the World Wide Web was invented in 1990, so here we are 26 years later, putting electronic communications on the same basis as electric footing. So, Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.